respected principal sir, the guest of the day, Dr. Mohan Roy, vice principals in absentia, dear teachers, and my dearest students of both the shift. Today, we are all here for a webinar which is organized by the school to celebrate the Mental Health Week. Today, let me begin with a question. How are you all? Children, can you reply? How are you all?
Fine.
Good, ma'am.
Fine, ma'am. Fine.
Are you all happy?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much for responding. So most of the time when we meet anyone, we get a question, how are you? When your friends meet you after some time, they may ask you, how are you? Isn't it? But rarely we do hear the question, how happy you are? What is your mental health? You all have heard about the saying, health is wealth. When we say health is wealth, we just simply note the physical health of a person. We never go to the other aspect of mental health of a person, isn't it? So it is very, very important nowadays to have a good mental health as well. So that is the main idea behind celebrating Mental Health Week. Now, apart from all these things, now you know we are all facing an unprecedented time in our life, isn't it? We are all going through the toughest times of our lives. Here, you know, the corona has locked us for about 17, 18 months inside our home. We have been locked up inside the four walls. We don't socialize with people. We call humans as socializing animals, but we don't socialize much. We have only the capacity now to talk to our people at home, maybe the fellow beings at neighborhood. I don't know how far we even communicate with them because of the fear of this virus. So a tiny virus could make us all sit inside our home. And when I browsed through today, I came across a shocking fact that mental illness affects only about 19% of the adults, but it affects about 46% of teenagers and 13% of children every year. This was quite shocking for me because I thought it is something which is more affected with higher individuals, I mean the adults. And it was not like that much of affected, like the children are not that very affected. But the thing is, now with this corona, the scenario has come upside down. At least the adults, those who are working group, has a provision to go out from the house, at least to socialize to some people, some individuals. But the saddest fact is our children are left back at home. Our elders are left back at home. Whom do they socialize to? Even, you know, the social media, the socializing, the connection through social media is restricted to students, to children. So, to whom are they socializing? What about their peer group interaction? So, to address all these issues, and very soon we know that we are coming to a very different scenario because our schools are going to reopen. So how to adjust from the virtual classes to the normal classes, and last year it was the other way around, adjusting from the normal classes to the virtual classes, but now it's the opposite of that. So every time we need to adapt. So how to adjust with this, and what are the precautions that you need to take, and what is the theme of this year's Mental Awareness Day. All these would be dealt in detail by our chief guest, and our chief guest is none other than Dr. Mohan Roy. And I need not give you a special introduction about Dr. Mohan Roy, but as a formality, I need to read out his profile. He actually is the VMC member of our school as well as the parent of our school. He needs no introduction because whenever you switch on TV, his face is quite familiar to each one of us. So whichever is the channel, there will be some sort of discussion going on, and he is always seen in news channels. So Dr. Mohan Roy sir is an assistant professor at the Department of Psychiatry, Government Medical College, Trivandrum, and he is an RMO, Medical College, Trivandrum, and he is a member of the selection committee of Kerala State Juvenile Justice Board. He is also the convener of Indian Psychiatric Society Task Force on COVID-19. He has won appreciation from Kerala State Police for activities in like identifying, treating, counseling, and rehabilitating drug addicts in February 2018. He is also the nodal officer of opioid substitution therapy project aimed at treatment of intravenous drug users. He is also a resource person for health, police, excise, social justice, and also the higher secondary and education department in training program. And he's also the resource person for television programs and radio programs on psychiatry topics. And he takes active interest in organizing stress management and life skill workshops. And he is also selected for 3 international fellowships and second World Congress of Asian Psychiatry in Taiwan 2009, and the second Child and Adolescent Training Program Mumbai 2009, and World Psychiatric Association International Conference in Turkey in 2006. And 2 of his works related to tsunami disaster were acknowledged by the World Health Organization. So this is his profile, and now you all are quite sure that he is the apt person to conduct the webinar today. And without much delay, let me welcome our principal to formally welcome our chief guest. Sir, please.
Good evening, all of you. Most respected chief guest of today is Dr. Mohan Roy. My dear staff members, my dear children. Nice to see you all. You're all in a happy mood and you're all smiling. Badra is smiling and Roshni, everybody is smiling now. You know, basically, the happiness is the most important thing, the basic thing required for learning. So learning is directly related to happiness of a child. You cannot learn when you are not in a good mood, or when there is a fight with your friend or fight with your parents or your siblings. Definitely it will affect your learning stuff. But unfortunately, what happened because of this pandemic, we are all at home for a long time, maybe around 2 years. We never faced in our life. First time we are also seeing in our life. But unfortunately, it happened to you. And because of this pandemic, you are at home for about 2 years. We know the most affected section of society is children only. We know. We like children, we love children, we are with children only. We know your basic needs, your feelings, your interests, everything we know. In that respect, actually, we also felt so bad that you are all sitting at home, we are going to the school, we are at least talking to your parents, we are interacting. Adults are able to interact with outside people, but you children are not able to do it. And you are at home only. In many houses, may not be the situation may not be that much good. Sometimes some fighting with the careful people, people there, that also affecting you. And your learning also being affected because of this pandemic, because of this lack of socialization, everything. Now, anyway, we are all very happy that schools are going to reopen first number. We are also eagerly waiting to see you in your school, in your campus, to see your smiling faces. We always say children should come with a smiling face and will go with a smiling face to the school. That is what actually basically we feel. And always we also keep in our writing that come with a smile and go with a smile. This is what we want. Schools are that only. And anyway, you are lucky that unfortunately that these things, the pandemic situation is getting relieved to some extent, and you are all welcome to school. Now, anyway, today with us, I think no introduction is required. Mohan Roy sir, and the madam already told. He is a family member only. Sir is also a member of the KVPattom family, and he is Executive Vidyalaya Management Committee member, and sir is a parent also. Sir also, we usually discuss with the school and activities, everything. And sir was also telling that sir will take some webinar for our children. So on this occasion, it's my pleasure and my privilege on the occasion of today's webinar. Sir, we are all eagerly waiting your words. I think I also welcome my children, I welcome my staff on this occasion, and I request sir also to interact with the students and start with your webinar. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Dev Master, Madam, Faisal sir. Shaila Madam is also there. So, generally,
Yes, sir.
so I can now see Roshni, Bhadra, and Mitra. Are you okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
When I asked you a question, you said you are okay. What is meant by that? When you said you are okay, what's the meaning?
Fine, sir.
Fine.
Fine, sir.
Means you are physically okay, you are feeling well, you are socializing, you are psychologically fine. So usually we ask the question, how are you? To which we usually answer, fine, and you. So what is this fineness? What is this okayness? There's no word like that. It's a neologism only. Okayness feeling. If we go deep into that, we'll just go through the definition of health by WHO. Health has been defined by WHO as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. There are three components. There is a physical component, there is a mental component, and there is a social component. Are you all physically okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Can we measure it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
How will we measure it?
We are happy.
Physical. That's
Weighing
psychology.
machines.
By
Yeah,
weighing, yes, Unikrishnan, by weighing machine, you can check your blood pressure, you can check your blood sugar level. Yeah, in the lab also. Yeah, that's an answer. Then you can do a blood routine examination. You can calculate your height. You can calculate whether your weight is appropriate to your height. You have numbers. And you can say that you are physically okay. Number wise. Your hemoglobin is between 12 to 40. Your weight is adequate for your height. And etc. etc. Your liver function is normal. Your kidney functions are also normal. But when I ask you whether you are mentally okay, psychologically okay, how will you measure it?
Sir, very difficult.
Very difficult. Yes. Then there is another question. What is that you are trying to measure? See, usually medicine, because basically I'm a doctor, the medicine is defined in such a way that for every illness, for every disease, there's an organ. So if you have an asthma, the problem is with your lungs. If you have a diarrhea, the problem is with your abdomen. If you have a chest pain, the probable condition is that you have a problem with your heart. So which is the organ which is responsible for your mental well-being or physical well-being?
Brain.
Hormones releasing.
Hormones, brain, yeah, two things. Anything else?
Your attitude, perception
Your
towards it.
attitude, perception, yeah. So it's brain. It's an amazing one. Just weighs around 1,200
Sir,
grams.
are you
Yes.
mentioning about psychosomatic disorders?
Yeah, maybe I'm coming to that.
Okay, sir.
So, brain weighs approx 1,200 grams, takes approx 90 to 95% of our blood supply from heart. And you know what? Has 100 billion neurons. You know how much is a billion?
Yes, sir. 100 crore.
100 crore. 100 billion means 10,000 crores of neurons. Now probably there are students from 8th out there. For them, can you imagine a structure of neuron like this? This is the stem part of it, plus it has dendrites and all. Cool, nah? Around 150 of them. Around 150 dendrites. So you imagine a structure. If there are two things, there is one connection. There are three things, there are. So as the number goes up, there are multiple connections. Now you imagine a structure with 150 branches, 10,000 crores of neurons with 150 branches making interconnections. Can you imagine that structure? Just imagine. Is it easy to imagine? Okay, 10,000 neurons when you are born, on the first day of your life. Probably you all have 8,600 crores of neurons. 8,600 crores of neurons, which aids you in seeing what you are seeing, in listening what you are actually listening, in smelling the smell of your favorite biryani or masala dosa, or touch of your pet. So basically, we make a conclusion about our environment through our senses, about our five senses. If there is a distortion in these senses, many things can happen. So it's basically the brain which is responsible for mental well-being, psychological well-being, and that is the organ responsible for behavior. So when I ask you, are you okay? You're saying I'm physically okay. You may be mentally disturbed. I don't know. Something may be wrong in your brain. And as someone has suggested, hormones do play a part. Now you imagine a situation when you are about to enter the examination hall to write your annual exam. How do you feel like? A pumping heart, sweating? You're not at peace, right? What is that?
Yes.
What is that? What do you call that?
Nervousness.
Nervousness, in layman terms, or anxiety. Now I just had a dog, right? Dog was barking in the background.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, properly it's this dog, right? It's a pet, right?
Yes, sir. And my neighbors actually.
And your neighbors, good, cool. What if a stray dog attacks you, Srividhi, or tries to attack you? How will
Sir,
you
I
feel?
will get scared.
The same things, na? A thumping heart, you will sweat and you will run, right?
Yes, sir.
Same situation. This is decided by a hormone. So these hormones, adrenaline, cool hydration, that's it. So these hormones, plus the structure of brain, plus your social environment, ultimately decides your behavior. So when I ask you, are you okay? You're physically okay, you're mentally okay, but are you socially okay? Are you behaving appropriately? That's also important. So as I said, we make an inference about the world through these senses. It's a pen. You are seeing from this side. I'm very bad at drawing, so if I draw a pic, it will be something like this. You're also seeing the same thing from this point of view. So if you draw a pic and if you're good at drawing, your drawing will miss this. So if you are seeing the pen from this angle and this angle, the view is entirely different. You are seeing the same thing from different angles. So your perception is also important. How you see things is also important. And how you see things, how you make inferences from what you are seeing is also decided by your brain and your social surroundings. So it's the brain which decides your behavior, the structure of brain, the hormones, and the social situation or surroundings decide your behavior. So what are the problems in behavior? You know, you heard of. Come on.
Anger problems, acting out.
Anger problems, acting out, and what?
Shouting.
Shouting, yeah. An offshoot of anger, of course.
Feeling bad for no reason.
Feeling bad for no reason. Feeling low. Okay, we'll first discuss feeling low. Feeling low, feeling down, feeling out, not energetic. The biryani does not taste at all or taste less. Now I can see a smile in Bhadra's face. Bhadra may be thinking that Sir is very fond of biryani, right, Bhadra? Yeah, sure.
Yes, sir.
One of my favorite dishes, of course, is biryani. So I miss the smell, taste of biryani. I may not enjoy things which I used to enjoy, like playing games or playing cricket or reading books or listening to music. I may feel low. That's what you call us technically. What do you call that? That's depression. Depression, great. That's depression. So, going back to the first question, I asked, are you okay? If you are depressed, you may not say that I am okay. But the problem is we don't usually say that. And when you are depressed, when you are not okay, it affects your other areas as well. You won't be able to study properly, you won't be able to concentrate properly, you won't be able to sleep properly, you won't be able to enjoy it. So that affects your studies. So this awareness about various issues which children face, and depression is very common. Actually, it's said that 1 in 4 women and 1 in 5 men suffer from depression. It's also seen in young adults. It's one of the, what do we say, as common cold in psychiatry. You know that cold is very common among medical specialties. Similarly, depression is very common among psychiatric units. So if you feel like something which I have discussed, please be aware of the fact that you may be suffering from this and you need to address that. So that's about depression. And then what would you like me to discuss about?
Anxiety.
Anxiety. Okay. We'll discuss what is meant by anxiety. Ria, have you ever confronted a snake, a real snake?
Yes, sir.
How was it?
Scary. I ran and called Papa, Papa.
Okay. So, we're discussing two things here. One is fear, and other is anxiety. We'll try to know the difference. Fear is the emotion which Ria had when she saw a snake. The fear is something which is external to her body. You can see that. You know the consequence of a snake bite. It has a definite size and shape. So a reaction to what is external to your body, which has a definite size and shape, and about which the consequences are sure, is called fear. That's fear. Now we will discuss anxiety. Anxiety is something which you experience when you are about to enter your exam hall.
It is a what if.
What if? Yeah, cool. Is there a definite size and shape for the anxiety? No.
No.
Is it something? No. Is it something external? No. It's within. Are you sure of the consequences? The exams may be good. You may write well. You may perform bad. So that is anxiety. Actually, anxiety is a very interesting phenomenon. See, as human beings, anxiety was a quality which helped us to survive. Because in prehistoric periods, actually there were 3 human species which had nearly coexisted. Like we, the Homo sapiens, the Neanderthals, and the Homo erectus. Maybe something which you learned in your geography classes in 9th and 10th, which you decided to forget, or maybe it was not that interesting at that point of time. So whenever these 3 species coexisted, they had this anxiety feeling inside because it was important for their survival. You are entering a dark room, there is not much light, and something is, you see a structure which is sort of not straight in the dim light. What will come to your mind first?
Ghost.
Snake, and you will try to run away. It has a revolutionary significance. You run away and you are. So prehistorically, when we were actually hunter-gatherers, we used to hunt and gather. Men and women were hunting together, like in the maybe in the sub-Saharan African jungles or somewhere deep down in Amazon. So anxiety was an ill thing which helped us to survive as a species. So those who ignored the anxiety, those who were warned that leopard is coming, and those who decided to stay there, probably what happened to them?
They will get eaten up.
So they don't have ancestors, they don't have a lineage. So their genetic material is basically gone. Those who actually ran away when they heard that a leopard is on the way survived, isn't it? So those were persons with anxiety. That's why they ran away. So we are actually descendants of those who ran away rather than those who stood there with courage, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So anxiety is something which is inbuilt into your mind. Actually, deep down in your brain, somewhere below this part, there's an organ called amygdala. Probably might have heard of that. Students in 11th
Yes,
and
sir, I have.
Yes, sir.
Amygdala. Amygdala is the seat of emotions. It controls your fear, controls your anxiety, and all other emotions. So, as I said, these three species were coexisting together, and we, the Homo sapiens, are advanced, and we reached this evolutionary stage basically because of three reasons. One is with the prefrontal cortex, second with our language, and third with the use of thumb. These were the three things which helped us to advance. So anxiety is something which is within. You feel that something is there. So that's about anxiety. Depression, two common things which seen among children. Next thing which you want to discuss about.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, please. Smriti, Deepu, please.
Yeah. So actually, mine is a question. Sir, how does someone acquire a mental illness?
Cool, we'll come to that. Definitely we'll come to that. Let me write that. So what else you want me to discuss?
So what is actually OCD?
OCD, yeah, okay. OCD is something like, you can't see my table, right? Okay, I'll try. Maybe. See, OCD is something when there are two parts. One is an obsession and there is a compulsion. Obsession is something when you have a thought inside. See, I'd actually locked my home and I'd actually traveled a kilometer away from my home, and suddenly I get this feel that I had not locked my home. I come back, I check, and I make sure that the door is locked. It was locked. I move again, reach another 2 kilometers. Then I have again a feel that the door is not locked. I know that it's a useless feeling. I only check the door. I should not think like this, but the thought is coming to my mind. That is an obsession. A repeated thought coming into your mind against your will. You know that it is senseless. It is useless, but you are forced to come back and check. That checking part is compulsion. The thought part is obsession and the checking part is compulsion. When you have both, you have something called as OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. There are many phases to that. Like there are this cleaners. You see, when you walk, it's highly probable that you may touch your hand on the corner of a table or a door. I may go and wash, especially during time of corona. Now when I walk again and I touch again and I'm forced to clean again, now that's an obsession and there is a compulsion. Then there are these checkers and cleaners who actually clean everything. And then there are persons who actually keep their table in such a way that actually looks good. My table is not like that. They keep the table in such a way that it looks like Paka building blocks. Building blocks of what? Lego thing or something like that. That's awesome. So, what do you want me to discuss about next? Mobile phones? Addiction?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, what is addiction? Are you all addicted to anything or something?
Yes, sir. Studies.
You are addicted to studies, great. Keep going.
Thank you, sir.
Nice to hear that. Anyone else who is addicted to anything else other than studies?
No, sir.
No, you're not addicted.
No,
Other than-
me neither.
No. What about coffee?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
No, sir.
I
How
don't
will
like
you
coffee.
get a very bad headache without
No.
coffee in the morning? You get mad. Yeah, then you are addicted to coffee. So what's addiction? What is meant by addiction?
A compulsion to do a destructive habit again and again.
Because drinking
Sir,
coffee.
habit that
It is
cannot
not-
be changed in our life.
But you have to change it.
Yes,
That's
sir.
how we treat addiction actually. Okay, let's explain it in this way. Let's take coffee. When did you actually start taking coffee? Maybe when you were in 7th or 8th. Now, so till that point of time, it was okay for you to live without coffee. Now you start taking coffee on small doses, and then you increase the dose. Then you increase the dose to such an extent that without that dose, you're not okay. You have a headache. You're off mood. You can't concentrate. Now you're forced to do that. That's addiction. And if you try to stop or cut down the dose, you have what you call as withdrawal features. Withdrawal features depends on the substance which you are taking. It's different for alcohol, different for cigarettes, different for coffee, different for ganja, and so many other things. So that's the prototype of addiction. Now, is gaming an addiction? Is internet an addiction?
If we do something
Yes,
too
sir.
much and we can't live without it or something like that, it's called addiction.
Sir,
Yes.
social media is free dopamine. So you get addicted to it.
Okay. So, what's the relationship between dopamine and addiction?
Dopamine is the happy hormone. You get
Pleasure neurotransmitter. Whenever you do anything which gives you pleasure, you have a lot of dopamine actually coming into your mind. The next point I'm going to discuss is very dangerous. So be very careful when I say that. Now, let's see our normal dopamine dose is 250. You are drinking coffee, you are reading a good book, you are listening to good music, you are exercising, and you are getting a dose of 250 dopamine molecules. Okay. Studies have shown that cigarette gives you 500. Good. More dopamine, more happiness. I can see some frowning out there. Okay, alcohol gives you 1000. Wow. Srinidhi, what's happening?
Sir, it's too much. It's too much.
Ganja will give you 10,000. Cocaine 50,000. Hey, now it's easy, na? You go after it. You'll get more happiness, na? Cool. Okay.
No, sir. Not cool.
But there is a problem. നമ്മുടെ മലയാളത്തിൽ ഒരു ചൊല്ലുണ്ട്. I don't know how to translate that into English. അധികമായ
Amritam
Amritam Visham.
Amritam Visham.
So initially I discussed about the structure of neurons, right? You remember the branches, around 150 of them. Excess dopamine actually kills neurons. Your body can't tolerate excess dopamine. Okay, maybe you have a car, it has a petrol tank, the capacity is just 30 liters, right? Can you feel 100?
Sir.
Can you feel 100? No, you can't.
No, sir.
Yes, but you can't. Similarly. But if you load your brain with so much of dopamine, that's the bad part of it. Now you imagine. See, and the studies have shown that brain matures by the age of 25. It's actually, by maturity, what we mean is the maturity of this part, this prefrontal cortex. This actually differentiates Homo sapiens from Neanderthals and Homo erectus. This part actually helped us to survive, helped us to advance. That's why we are launching rockets. That's why we are doing all these scientific things. So, this brain has wiring, so many wirings. I discussed the 8,600 cells with 150 branches. Everything sets by around, say, 21 to 25. Now you imagine your brain getting exposed to this excess of dopamine. The situation is like you are doing a rewiring for your home. The work is not over. The switches are placed but not placed properly. You have many interconnections which you need to correct. Now you are turning on power. What will happen? Boom.
Short circuit.
Short circuit.
That's exactly what happens when you load your brain with these substances at a younger age. Now I can hear a question. Okay, what if we do that at an elderly age? Please.
Sir, how many molecules of dopamine does social media produce?
Hey, what I just discussed is just a comparison. The numbers are just for representative purpose only. Social media may be 375.
Okay, sir.
Now you imagine a situation. Now you know why it is difficult to de-addict a person, right?
Yes,
You are
sir.
happy. You
Yes,
were
sir.
perfectly happy with 250. Your brain is getting exposed to 500 of cigarette. Now you imagine getting a salary of 50,000 a month, and now your salary is cut to 25,000. Will you manage? Will you be able to manage? No. That's the problem with addiction. That's what happens when you load your brain with excess of dopamine. That is what is happening to all those addicts out there when they use the substances, and unfortunately they are using it without knowing it. They don't know. And then another important thing that I just discussed about the branches. It actually kills the branches. It actually kills the neurons. And there's a bad thing with neurons is once neurons are lost, they are lost forever. There is no repair. Now you know that there are neurons which control your emotions. There are neurons which control your intelligence. There are neurons which control your three-dimensional capacity. I don't have much neurons which control my three-dimensional capacity. That's why I'm not able to think in terms of a pakka building when I see a pig. That's why I was not a good surgeon. That's why I never became a good surgeon, because during my third year of MBBS and I entered the theater and they were cutting open so many things, I was good at dissections, but I couldn't exactly go through the planes and just imagine what was happening. Nowadays it's very easy to learn because you have three-dimensional graphics out there. So that's exactly why I never became a surgeon. It's difficult for me to get into my mind. So now you imagine your neurons controlling your three-dimensional view or your intelligence or your connection between different areas. If those neurons are damaged, they are damaged forever. That's what happens when you use substances. That's what happens when you use social media. Now, I said that 250 is your normal level, 375 is your next level. Now you imagine your 250 is a 4-lane highway, usual step. We don't have that in our part of the country, but still you imagine our 250 as a 4-lane. And our pakka addiction as 8-lane. Studies are saying that when you are using social media, and if you are addicted to social media, it's actually you are building a 6-lane highway. At any point of time, it's very easy to convert that 6-lane highway into an 8-lane highway. Those who are addicted to social media at an younger age, they have more vulnerability to develop harder addictions. There are hard addictions and soft addictions. So that's the importance of addictions. That's how addiction affects you. That's how addiction kills you actually. And there are so many neurochemical factors as well. As Sridhari was saying about dopamine, there is another neurotransmitter which we discussed, norepinephrine, and there is another one which serotonin. Serotonin is actually the mood regulator. If you have less of serotonin, chances are high that you will develop depression. So these neurotransmitters are interconnected as well. So once you have a derangement in the level of dopamine, can affect the other neurotransmitters and leads to so many illnesses, like psychosis. Psychosis is a funny thing. You know what is meant by psychosis?
No, sir. Delusion.
Delusion. Yeah, delusion is a part of psychosis. Delusion is a false feeling. So usually I derive my conclusions from what I see. When I see with my brain. I interpret through my brain. When I see an animal, a short animal, long one, with a mouth like this and a tail, and I have a library in my hippocampus which has millions of pictures of such animals. It is seen near my house and it's making a sound. Meow. What is that animal?
Cat.
Cat.
Not a dog. I identify that by discrimination. I compare the pic, the sound, and the other characteristics in my library. I have a library here. You have a storage system in your computer now. Similarly, I have a library out here. I compare and make a conclusion. Now, if there is something wrong in my brain, and if I am deluded or if I am hallucinating, I may see things that others are not able to see. I may hear things that others are not hearing. I have a deception. Now I can say that Srinidhi has switched off her mic because Srinidhi is planning there to kill me. She is planning to send a bullet through my computer. It will come through my camera and it's gonna hit me. That's why she's turned her camera off. Now if I say that, you definitely know that something is wrong with me. My thought process has a problem. Actually, my brain has a problem. That is when you say, I am deluded. I have a false belief. Or when I now hear that Bhadra has turned her camera on, and I'm hearing a voice in my brain which tells me that, okay, it's not Srinidhi, it's actually Bhadra who's trying to kill me. I can hear that in my mind. I'm hearing something which you are not hearing. I'm seeing something which you are not hearing. I am